The preparation phase is probably one of the most important parts of any collaboration co-creation process. It defines the success of the entire project. It defines whether you will be happy with the outcome, with the ideas that you will get during the process. Let's go through all the details you need to carefully consider to achieve the results you are hoping for. Hello everyone and welcome to my channel about co-creation. My name is Lisa and I spent 5 years organizing collaborative university competitions to help world well-known companies solve their extreme innovation challenges, and now I help businesses innovate and solve their R&D and business challenges with hackathons. Let's imagine that you already have this challenge for a co-creation process in mind, and you know that it should definitely be a co-creation project, whether it's a hackathon, a collaborative competition, a specially designed workshop, whatever it is. But you know that you're going to do it, and what do you need to focus on in the preparation stage of this project? And the thing number one is other goals that you might have for this project. Of course, one of the main goals is to solve the challenge that you have, to get ideas, maybe to get some prototypes. But apart from that, you might also have some other goals. For example, you might want to strengthen your team spirit in your company, learn new processes, because the hackathon or like the collaborative competition itself is a new process. You might want to find new partners for your long-term projects. You might want to influence your company's culture or kind of cement relationships with your current customers, with your current clients. So there could be many different reasons, many different goals of this process apart from actually solving the challenge. And you need to know them, and you need to define them, and you need to keep them in mind when you think about the whole process, when you think about the format, when you think about participants. Because, for example, if you want to strengthen your connection with your clients, you might want to invite them for this process. So it's going to influence basically the format and the way you are doing this whole project. Thing number two is, of course, the criteria for this challenge, based on which you will evaluate the solutions from participants. It might include some metrics that can be calculated, some characteristics, something that can be measured. You might also want to add some restrictions. For example, if we're talking about the business challenge, maybe you want to give a limited budget for the project realization, or you want to limit the use of some materials. So whatever you have in mind, any limitations, you should introduce them. But of course, there should be this fine balance between introducing too many limitations that will basically limit creativity and introducing just enough borders, just enough limitations for participants to actually boost creativity. And you know, I do believe that it's really good to have this list of criteria to evaluate solutions by participants, even if you don't plan to actually foster competition between them. If you're just doing a workshop, for example, between your team members, it's still good, because they need to narrow down their ideas to something specific. And at the end of the day, I do believe that you need to decide which ideas you're going to implement. So there should be some list of criteria based on which you will make a decision what to implement and what to leave for next time, or maybe never implement actually. Point number 3 is additional information. I do strongly believe that apart from the challenge, apart from specific requirements that you have, it's crucial to gather as much information about the problem you're trying to solve as it's possible. And it is important that you give this information to your participants before the challenge, the official process actually starts. And such information might include different things. It could be details about current company, products, processes, methods that you use at manufacturing or in your business. It can be information about the market situation. It can be some data on what competitors are doing, insights about successful and not very successful attempts. So just everything that could help participants better understand your problem, what was done to solve this problem, and what they can do to actually solve this problem. The more information you give, the better it is. The better they will understand the challenge and the better solutions they will be able to provide. Point number 4, and this point is about timeframes. This is actually an important step because you don't want your project to last for years, right? Even if you are trying to solve a very difficult challenge, even if you are looking for some real prototypes at the end of the process, even if you know that it's going to take months, and yes, maybe this project will take a year and more than a year, but there should be some sort of a time frame within which you are going to conduct this process. Again, the duration mostly depends on the difficulty of the challenge and the results that you are hoping to get at the end of it. Because, for example, if you are trying to find a new material, a new molecule, then of course it's difficult to do it within a couple of days. I do believe it's close to impossible probably to do it within a couple of days. So you would rather go for months and for a year, not for years. I hope not for years, but yeah, with collaborative university competitions, our project lasted for 9-12 months usually, sometimes a bit longer. At least like we knew that's when we are going to start, and those are the months when we will probably be finishing this process. It's also good to put some time pressure on participants, but it shouldn't feel impossible to solve the challenge, because if you feel like you cannot actually come up with any solution within this time frame, it's not motivating, right? You feel powerless, but you want to empower participants. There should be some adequate limitations. Again, if it's a long process, of course, it's extremely difficult to define this final date when you're going to end this project, but at least you can define some at least months. For example, you plan to start this project in December this year and you would like to finish it sometime in December next year. So at least you have this idea of timeframes in mind, and so that participants understand it. If it's a short process, of course, there is no problem for you to come up with strict dates. Point number 5 is connected to the format and participants. When you're getting ready for the co-creation process, you need to define the format. Is it going to be an online process? Is it going to be an offline process? What are you going to actually do? Are you going with a hackathon? Are you going with a brainstorming session? Are you going with a workshop? What are you going to do? Do you plan to invite participants from the outside world? Do you plan to invite participants from academia, from other organizations, from your partner organizations, or do you plan to do it fully internally? Or maybe you want to kind of combine and invite participants from outside and also use your team members as part of the teams. So this is something you should think through and make a decision who you will invite. Also, when I'm talking about participants who you want to invite, you should think about their background. If you are talking about academia, some research interests, of course, what they should focus on. And here, the good thing, I have a video on my channel about this topic, but in general, here it's good to invite participants from adjacent areas, participants who might have kind of basic knowledge of the processes that are happening with your, for example, chemical processes, What I'm saying is that it's not necessarily, if you are working on polymers, you should focus only on teams that are working in polymers. You might think about other areas as well, where experts might have knowledge that would be beneficial for your processes, where there could be some sort of a connection between two areas, and you might invite these experts as well. So you need to think through all these details. And again, it's good if you come up with a list of maybe disciplines, the list of areas from which you are going to invite your participants, and don't limit these participants to your areas only, or to the areas of the challenge. So for example, if you are doing a challenge connected to developing, I don't know, a smart lab assistant based on AI, you do not invite only AI experts. You also invite chemical engineers. You also invite people who know these processes and who know some details from the chemistry side of things. That's going to be very, very beneficial. Point number 6 is connected to awards and the jury. I mean, it's not always necessary to have the awards, especially if you're just doing a brainstorming session, but I do strongly believe that some additional motivation is always good. But if you're doing some competitions, if you plan to do a process that also has this competing part, I do believe that it's really important to have a word, not just one. Yeah, it's just gonna additionally incentivize your participants to come up with great solutions. And of course, if we're talking about the jury, we're talking about decision makers from your company, I believe, and those are the team members that will make decisions about next steps, which ideas will be implemented. I do believe that sometimes you might want to involve some other people from other organizations in your decision-making process. I do believe it might be very, very beneficial. And one of the recent interviews, I haven't yet posted this, but the interview with Rob Kirschbaum about open innovation, it will be on my channel, I believe, in 1 week. Rob was talking about the importance of involving some other parties in decision-making process when you're deciding on which ideas you need to prioritize and you need to implement. So you might want to think about that as well. You might want to invite some of your partners, for example. In any way, regarding decisions that you are going to make about the solutions, I do strongly believe that you need to hear opinions of participants. I'm always advocating for this. If you're doing a co-creation process, it's good to have voting between participants. It's good to organize this separate voting process and let participants express their opinion about solutions of other teams or other people involved in the process. This will at least give you some sort of an overall picture, and it will help you to avoid some biases that you might have towards some solutions. So it might just kind of widen the perspective that you have. Point number 7 is project infrastructure, of course, and I'm talking about the tools that you might need to use during the process. If it's an offline process, we are talking about the venue, we are talking about the logistics, we are talking about the hotels, places to have breakfast, dinner, etc. if you are going for this sort of process, of course. But you need to know and set up what you are going to use during this process. Any additional instruments, any additional platforms that will help you in your co-creation project. It should be defined during the preparation part. And once you defined all these points, I do believe it's time to think about the last, but definitely not the least for any business. It's about budget. So once you know how your co-creation process will look like, which format you're going to have, who will be your participants, where it's going to happen, whether it's going to be an offline process, what are the words, and as you know all these details, you can calculate the budget for your project, and you need to dedicate this budget or change the process, change the details during the preparation stage before you officially start with this project. So I did my best to remember every single detail that I pay attention to when I'm working on hackathons and other co-creation projects. There are so many factors involved. There might be some new things that will come up during this preparation stage. If you have any questions about what I missed or what I already mentioned, please feel free to send me a message on LinkedIn or leave a comment under this video or any other video. I'll be happy to help you. I'll be happy to answer your questions. And yeah, I just hope that this video will help you to organize your co-creation process and you will be happy with its outcomes, with the results that you will get at the end. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope that it was useful and I wish you a successful co-creation project and I wish you a good one. See you next time. Bye!